The galaxy burned with endless war. For 300 long years, three mighty empires had been locked in a deadly struggle that consumed entire star systems. The Vex Empire controlled the eastern spiral arm with their massive dreadnoughts and energy weapons that could crack planets in half. The Titan hegemony ruled the northern sectors with their bio-engineered warrior fleets and living ships that grew stronger with each battle. The Star Confederacy dominated the western regions, using swarm tactics and millions of automated fighter drones that moved like angry metal wasps through space. Each empire believed they were the rightful rulers of the galaxy. They had divided up millions of worlds between them, enslaving weaker species and strip-mining entire planets for resources to fuel their endless war machine. Billions of innocent beings served as slaves in their factories and mines, working until they died to build more weapons and warships. Admiral Kang stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive Vex dreadnought called the Dark Thunder. His black uniform was covered in battle ribbons from countless victories. Through the viewing window, he watched his fleet of 200 warships patrol the border between Vex and Titan space. These ships were his pride, each one capable of destroying a small moon with a single shot from their main cannons. The communications officer, a young Vex named Lieutenant Zor, approached with a puzzled expression. "Admiral, we are picking up strange radio signals from a small planet in the outer rim. The locals call it Earth." Kang barely glanced at the data tablet. The signals were primitive, chaotic, coming from what appeared to be a backwater world barely out of its stone age. "Primitive humans," he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "They cannot even leave their own planet properly." Commander Ryu, Kang's trusted second-in-command, studied the readings more carefully. The humans seemed to be constantly fighting among themselves in small wars, using crude weapons that would not even scratch the paint on a Vex shuttle. "They might make good slaves once we finish with the Titans and Confederacy," he suggested, with a cruel smile. Kang nodded approvingly. The Vex had enslaved dozens of species already. These humans would just be another addition to their workforce. "Mark their system for later conquest. After we crush the other empires, we will collect these humans like the rest." Neither of them realized that their casual dismissal of humanity would prove to be the greatest mistake in galactic history. They saw only primitive radio signals and small conflicts, never imagining the true potential that lay sleeping on that distant blue world. They could not know that humanity possessed something none of the three empires had ever encountered: the ability to adapt, unite, and fight back with a fury that would shake the very foundations of their ancient civilizations. The war between the three empires continued as it had for centuries, each side confident in their superiority, none aware that their fate was already being decided by a species they considered beneath their notice. The morning sun was rising over Seoul when the sky suddenly turned dark. Captain Hana of the Korean Defense Force was drinking her coffee in the command bunker when the alerts started screaming. Through the reinforced windows, she watched in horror as massive alien ships descended from the clouds like floating mountains of metal and death. The Vex fleet had arrived without warning. 12 enormous warships, each one the size of a city, hung motionless above Earth's major population centers. Their hulls were black as midnight, covered in strange glowing symbols that hurt to look at directly. The ships made no sound, which somehow made them even more terrifying. Captain Hana grabbed her radio with shaking hands. "All units, this is command. We have hostile contact. Repeat, we have hostile contact over major cities worldwide. Lieutenant." Jin burst into the control room, his face pale with fear. "Captain, we're getting the same reports from everywhere. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, they're all under these things right now." Before Hana could respond, the ships began their attack. Beams of pure energy lanced down from their bellies, striking military bases and government buildings with surgical precision. The weapons made no explosion, no fire. They simply erased everything they touched, leaving behind perfectly circular holes in the ground where tanks and buildings used to be. "Launch everything we have," Hana shouted into her communicator. "All missile batteries fire at will." Across the globe, humanity fought back with everything they possessed. Nuclear missiles streaked upward from silos and submarines. Fighter jets launched from aircraft carriers and military bases. Artillery batteries fired their biggest shells at the alien invaders hovering above their cities. Lieutenant Jin watched the radar screen with growing despair. "Captain, our missiles aren't even scratching them. The nuclear warheads are just bouncing off some kind of invisible barrier around their ships." The alien vessels didn't even bother to return fire against the human military response. They simply continued their precise strikes, methodically destroying every major military installation on the planet, while completely ignoring the desperate attacks being launched against them. Then the broadcast began. Every television, radio, and communication device on Earth suddenly crackled to life with the same message. The voice was cold, mechanical, translated into every human language simultaneously. "Primitive humans of Earth. I am Commander Vex of the Galactic Empire. Your pathetic resistance amuses us. Your weapons are toys, your military is insects. We have destroyed your ability to fight in less than 1 hour." Captain Hanna listened in stunned silence as the alien voice continued its mocking speech. "We return to claim your world after we finish our current war with worthier opponents. Prepare for slavery. Prepare for conquest. Your surrender will be absolute, or your species will join the countless others we have exterminated. Consider this a mercy. We grant you time to accept your fate." As suddenly as they had appeared, the alien ships rose back into the sky and vanished among the stars, leaving behind a world in shock and ruins. Earth's leaders gathered in emergency sessions while rescue teams searched through the perfectly circular holes where their most advanced military bases used to stand. The world held its breath for exactly 48 hours after the alien ships disappeared. News channels showed the same footage over and over, the perfect circles where military bases once stood, the helpless missiles bouncing off invisible shields, the mocking alien broadcast that promised humanity's enslavement. But in a secret, bunker buried 3 miles beneath the Swiss Alps, President Park of the United Earth Coalition was not panicking. She sat calmly at a conference table surrounded by world leaders who had been secretly working together for decades. Her finger hovered over a red button that had never been pressed before. "Gentlemen, ladies," she said quietly, "the day we have prepared for has finally arrived." She pressed the button. Across the globe, hidden facilities that had been disguised as ordinary buildings suddenly came alive. In downtown Tokyo, what everyone thought was a subway maintenance building opened, its floors to reveal massive elevators descending deep underground. Beneath the London financial district, bank vaults slid away to expose laboratories filled with technology that looked nothing like anything humans were supposed to possess. Dr. Kim stood in the main command center, a vast underground complex that stretched for miles beneath Seoul. The walls were lined with screens showing alien ship designs, energy weapon blueprints, and mathematical equations that would have been impossible just 50 years ago. "How long have you known this day was coming?" asked Prime Minister Chen, staring in amazement at the advanced technology surrounding them. Dr. Kim smiled grimly. "Since 1947. That crash in Roswell was not the first alien contact, and it was not the last. We have been preparing for this moment for over 70 years. Engineer Lee stepped forward, gesturing to a massive viewport that showed the construction bay below. Inside, hundreds of workers in clean white suits were assembling something that defied human understanding. Sleek metal components that seemed to bend light around them, energy cores that pulsed with contained starfire, and weapon systems reverse-engineered from a dozen different alien crashes over the decades. Every time they visited our world, every time they crashed, every time they underestimated us, we learned, Lee explained. We studied their technology, improved it, made it better. What took them thousands of years to develop, we perfected in decades. President Park walked to the main viewing screen, where satellite feeds showed similar hidden facilities activating across every continent. Underground factories in the Sahara Desert were producing hull plating stronger than anything the aliens had ever seen. Secret laboratories beneath the Antarctic ice were testing energy weapons that could punch through Galactic Empire shields like paper. "They think we are primitive," Park said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "They think we are helpless insects who will beg for mercy when they return. They have made the same mistake that every human enemy has made throughout our history." She turned to face the assembled world leaders, her eyes burning with determination. They have given us time to prepare. They have shown us their technology. They have united every human being on this planet against a common enemy. Operation Rising Sun is not just about building weapons or ships. The massive construction bay below them hummed with the sound of thousands of workers, all united in a single purpose that had never existed before in human history. Operation Rising Sun is about showing the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity's home. The construction bay stretched for miles underground, carved out of solid rock beneath the Pacific Ocean floor. Director Choi stood on the observation deck, watching thousands of workers move like ants across the massive project below. The scale was beyond anything humanity had ever attempted, a ship so large it could house a small city. Supervisor Yun, report, Choi spoke into his headset, his eyes never leaving the construction site. Section Alpha is installing the primary hull plating now, sir, came the reply from the factory floor. The new metal composite is testing at 3 times stronger than anything the Vex Empire uses. Admiral Song joined Choi at the viewing window, her military uniform crisp, despite the long hours she had been working. She had been chosen to command this vessel, and the weight of that responsibility showed in her tired but determined eyes. This ship will end their arrogance, she declared, watching as massive robotic arms moved hull sections into place. When they return expecting to find frightened primitives, they will find the retribution waiting for them. The ship taking shape below them was unlike anything in human history. The UES Retribution was 2 miles long and half a mile wide, its hull covered in angular armor plating that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The design combined the best of human engineering with technology reverse-engineered from alien crashes spanning decades. Supervisor Yun moved between work teams, coordinating the installation of systems that had never been tested together before. His workers came from every nation on Earth, former enemies now united by a common purpose. Chinese engineers worked alongside American technicians, Russian scientists collaborated with Indian programmers, all focused on creating humanity's first true warship. The fusion reactors are online, reported Chief Engineer Han over the communication system. Power output is stable at levels that would make the alien empires jealous. The weapon systems were humanity's greatest achievement. The main guns used focused energy beams, similar to what the Vex had used against Earth, but improved with human innovations. Instead of fixed-direction weapons, the Retribution's guns could adapt their frequency and intensity in real time, making them effective against any type of shield or armor. The adaptive targeting system is pure human genius, explained weapons specialist Ko to a group of visiting officials. While alien ships use the same attack patterns they have used for centuries, our weapons learn and adjust with every shot. The most impressive feature was the ship's armor. Human metallurgists had taken alien hull materials and improved them using techniques the empires had never considered. The Retribution's armor could repair itself, redistribute energy from attacks, and even learn from damage to become stronger in those areas. Director Choi received constant updates from teams working around the clock. Sleep was scheduled in shifts, meals were eaten at workstations, and families went weeks without seeing their loved ones. But nobody complained. Every human on Earth understood what was at stake. Sir, the navigation systems are calibrated, reported Navigation Officer Min-Yi. We can track and intercept alien fleets anywhere in the solar system. As the weeks passed, the Retribution grew from scattered components into a magnificent weapon of war. Its sleek lines and deadly beauty represented humanity's refusal to accept defeat. When the alien empires returned expecting to find a broken world, they would instead face a species that had transformed their arrogance into humanity's greatest strength. Deep in the shadows of alien space stations, humanity's most dangerous weapon was not the Retribution or its massive guns. It was information. While the galaxy's empires fought their endless war, they never noticed the small figures moving through their corridors, listening to their conversations, and learning their deepest secrets. Agent Nam had spent 6 months surgically altered to look like a Vex maintenance worker. His skin had been dyed the pale blue color of the alien species, and bioimplants gave him their distinctive ridge patterns along his forehead. He moved through the Vex command center on their capital ship, emptying trash containers and cleaning floors while his enhanced hearing recorded every word spoken by the alien officers. "The humans sent no response to our warning," Admiral Kang was saying to his staff. "Typical primitive behavior. They are probably hiding in caves by now." Numb continued mopping the floor, invisible to the aliens who saw only a lowly servant. But his hidden recording devices captured every detail of their battle plans, ship movements, and most importantly, their complete dismissal of any human threat. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, spy Rosa had infiltrated a Titan research facility. The bioengineered warriors of the Titan hegemony were even more arrogant than the Vex. Rosa had undergone painful genetic modifications to match their insect-like appearance, complete with compound eyes and chitinous skin patches. "The soft-skinned humans cannot possibly pose any threat," buzzed Commander Zix to his research team. "Our living ships adapt and grow stronger with each battle. What could those primitive mammals possibly do against our superior evolution?" Rosa filed away every word while pretending to catalogue biological samples. The Titans had spent centuries perfecting their organic technology, but they had also become completely set in their ways. Their ships followed the same growth patterns. Their tactics never varied, and they believed their biological superiority made them unbeatable. Back on Earth, Field Agent Park delivered his report to the intelligence team, gathered in a secure briefing room. "They never adapt their tactics," he said, displaying holographic images of alien battle formations. "The Vex use the same energy weapon frequencies they have used for 300 years. The Titans deploy their living ships in identical patterns every single time. The Star Confederacy's drone swarms follow pre-programmed flight paths that never change." Intelligence Chief Shin studied the psychological profiles that had been compiled over months of careful observation. "Overconfident fools," she muttered, highlighting key weaknesses in each empire's mindset. "They have been the dominant powers for so long that they cannot imagine being challenged by anyone, especially not by a species they consider inferior." The intelligence reports revealed something incredible. Each alien empire had become so comfortable with their superiority that they had stopped innovating. The Vex had used the same ship designs for centuries. The Titans had perfected their biological weapons and then stopped developing new ones. The Star Confederacy had built their drone technology and never improved it. "They think in patterns," explained Analyst Kim, showing tactical projections on the main screen. "Predictable, unchanging patterns. But humans think differently. We adapt, we improvise, we change our approach when something is not working." Agent Nam's latest intelligence packet contained the most valuable information yet. Complete technical specifications for Vex shield generators, stolen directly from their engineering computers. The aliens had never bothered to encrypt their data because they could not imagine any other species being capable of understanding it. While the three empires continued their ancient war, humanity learned their every weakness, studied their every move, and prepared to show them what happened when you underestimated the most adaptable species in the galaxy. The UES Retribution drifted silently through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, its dark hull invisible against the black of space. Captain Dana stood on the bridge, her hands steady on the command console despite the butterflies in her stomach. This was humanity's first real test against the aliens who had dismissed them as primitive insects. "Contact on long-range sensors," reported Navigation Officer Min, his voice tight with concentration. "Vex fleet approaching from the outer system. 47 ships, including 3 heavy dreadnoughts." Admiral Song moved to the tactical display, studying the approaching enemy formation. The Vex ships moved in their traditional diamond pattern, exactly as the intelligence reports had predicted. After 3 centuries of victory, they saw no need to change their tactics. "They are not even trying to hide," observed Tactical Officer Lee. "No defensive formations, no scout ships ahead. They think they are coming to collect helpless prisoners." Captain Dana activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. Today we show the galaxy that humanity will not go quietly into slavery. Every person on Earth is counting on us. Do not let them down." The Vex fleet dropped out of hyperspace, exactly where human calculations predicted they would. Admiral Kang's flagship, the Dark Thunder, led the formation just as it had for decades of conquest. Through the viewport of his command bridge, Kang expected to see a broken world begging for mercy. Instead, he found the retribution waiting for him. "What is that thing?" gasped Commander Ryu, staring at the massive human warship that seemed to have appeared from nowhere. Before Kang could respond, Admiral Song's voice echoed across all communication frequencies. "Vex Fleet, this is Admiral Song of the United Earthship Retribution. You came to our world uninvited. You threatened our people. You promised to enslave our children. Today you learn the price of threatening humanity." Kang laughed, his voice full of contempt. "One primitive ship against our entire fleet? Your species truly is as stupid as we thought. Target the Vex Fleet," Admiral Song ordered calmly. Weapons Officer Kim's fingers danced across his control panel. The Retribution's adaptive weapon systems locked onto each enemy ship simultaneously, analyzing their shield frequencies, armor composition, and structural weak points in seconds. "Adaptive cannons ready, Admiral," Kim reported. "All targets acquired. Fire." The space between the two fleets erupted in brilliant streams of energy, but these were not the fixed frequency weapons the Vex expected. The Retribution's guns shifted and adapted with each shot, changing frequency and intensity to penetrate whatever defenses they encountered. The first Vex ship exploded before its captain could even raise shields. The second managed to activate its defenses, but the human weapons simply adjusted and punched through like the barriers were made of paper. One by one, the alien warships died in brilliant flashes of light. "Impossible!" Admiral Kang screamed, as his fleet burned around him. "Our shields are impenetrable. Our armor is the strongest in the galaxy." But the Retribution's weapons learned from each shot, adapted to every defense, and overcame every obstacle the Vex threw at them. In less than 10 minutes, 47 alien warships had been reduced to drifting wreckage. As the Dark Thunder's hull cracked and its systems failed, Kang's final transmission reached the Retribution. What are you?" Admiral Song's reply was heard across the galaxy. "We are humanity, and we do not surrender." The news of the Vex fleet's complete destruction spread across the galaxy faster than wildfire. On every civilized world, in every space station, and aboard every merchant vessel, beings huddled around communication screens watching the impossible footage that had been broadcast from the battle. News anchor Lee, a reptilian creature from the neutral Galactic News Network, could barely keep his voice steady as he reported the unthinkable. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all species, we have confirmed reports that the entire Vex expeditionary fleet has been destroyed by a single ship from the primitive world called Earth." The footage showed the Retribution's devastating attack in slow motion. Alien military experts watched in stunned silence as human weapons adapted and overcame defenses that had protected the galaxy's greatest empires for centuries. The impossible had become reality. In the command centers of the Titan hegemony, General Hive Queen Zara slammed her clawed fist against the tactical table. The Vex were weak and overconfident, she buzzed angrily to her war council. "Our bioships are superior. Our living armor regenerates. These humans will learn the difference when they face true evolutionary perfection." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Fleet Admiral Drone Prime of the Star Confederacy was calculating different numbers. 47 ships destroyed in 10 minutes. His mechanical voice processed the data coldly. Efficiency rating, impossible by current galactic standards. Solution, overwhelming numerical superiority. Deploy all available fleets. Both empires made the same fatal mistake. Instead of retreating to study this new threat, they rushed toward Earth with everything they had. The Titan hegemony launched their Grand Biofleet, 300 living ships that could adapt and heal during battle. The Star Confederacy sent their Great Swarm, over 1,000 automated vessels guided by artificial intelligence. Navigator June tracked both fleets from the Retribution's advanced sensor array. Two massive enemy formations approaching from different vectors, he reported to the bridge crew. The Titans are coming from Galactic North, the Star Confederacy from the west. They will arrive within hours of each other. Captain Dana studied the tactical display with calm determination. They think numbers will save them. They still do not understand what they are facing. The first battle came when the Titan biofleet dropped out of hyperspace near Saturn. Their living ships writhed and pulsed like enormous sea creatures, their organic hulls covered in weapons that grew and shifted like cancer. They had never lost a battle because their ships literally evolved. During combat, Admiral Song watched the alien formation approach and felt no fear. All weapons target the lead bioships, show them that evolution works both ways. The Retribution's adaptive weapons struck the Titan fleet with devastating precision, but these living ships began to heal and adapt, their organic hulls trying to develop resistance to the human energy beams. For a moment, it looked like they might succeed where the Vex had failed. Then the human weapons evolved faster. Switching to plasma-kinetic hybrid beams, reported Weapons Officer Kim, as his systems automatically adapted to overcome the biological defenses. Target hulls are regenerating, but not fast enough. The living ships died screaming across the vacuum of space, their organic hulls unable to adapt quickly enough to survive the constantly changing human weapons. 300 bioships became floating organic debris in less than 15 minutes. The Star Confederacy's great swarm lasted even less time. Their 1,000 ships moved in perfect formation, guided by artificial intelligence that had calculated victory through pure numbers. But artificial intelligence followed patterns, and the Retribution's weapons had been designed by humans who specialized in breaking patterns. The massive shape of the UES Retribution appeared in the sky above Vex. Prime like a dark omen of judgment, the alien capital world had never seen an enemy ship in its orbit. For 3 centuries, the Vex Empire had been the one doing the conquering. Now their greatest cities looked up in terror at the human warship that had destroyed their most powerful fleets. Communications Officer Park's voice echoed from every speaker on the planet below. People of Vex Prime, this is the United Earth Ship Retribution. Your military forces have been defeated. Your fleets are destroyed. Surrender now, and no harm will come to your civilians. In the underground bunkers of the Vex capital, Admiral Kang's replacement, General Vix, stared at the tactical screens in disbelief. Every one of their remaining defense satellites had been disabled in seconds, not destroyed but simply shut down by weapons that seemed to understand Vex technology better than the Vex themselves. How did primitive humans learn to do this? Whispered Commander Ryu, who had barely escaped the destruction of the original fleet. They should not even understand our basic science, let alone improve upon it. But the real shock was yet to come. Across the Vex Empire, on slave worlds that had been controlled for generations, something unprecedented was happening. The enslaved species were rising up. On the mining world of Croton 5, the beetle-like Scarin workers put down their tools and looked up at their Vex overseers with defiance in their compound eyes. The humans showed us that empires can fall, declared their leader, a scarred veteran named Worker Prime Click. If they can defeat the mighty Vex fleet, then we can defeat you. The same scene repeated on 1,000 worlds throughout Vex space. Species that had been broken and enslaved for centuries suddenly remembered what freedom felt like. They had seen the impossible happen. A primitive world had stood up to galactic empires and won. The situation was even worse on Titan Prime, the bioengineered capital of the hegemony. The Retribution appeared over their living cities like death itself, and the organic structures actually tried to hide, folding in on themselves like frightened animals. Please, mighty humans, General Hive Queen Zara transmitted from her bio-fortress, her proud voice reduced to desperate begging. We surrender completely. We will do anything you ask. Please do not destroy our world. The Star Confederacy's machine capital, Drone Central, fell silent when the Retribution arrived. Every artificial intelligence in the system ran the same calculations simultaneously and reached the same conclusion. Resistance was mathematically impossible. Their probability matrices showed 0 chance of victory against weapons that adapted faster than their systems could process. All Star Confederacy forces stand down immediately, transmitted Fleet Admiral Drone Prime in his mechanical voice. This unit requests mercy protocols from the human command structure. But the most amazing sight was not the surrender of the empires. It was what happened next. Across the galaxy, on worlds that had been enslaved for generations, beings of 100 different species looked up at the stars with hope for the first time in centuries. The news networks broadcast the same message over and over. If humans could defeat empires that had ruled the galaxy for 300 years, then anything was possible. The age of the great empires was over. The age of freedom was about to begin, led by a species that the galaxy had dismissed as primitive, but who had proven that the greatest strength was not in superior technology or ancient power, but in the refusal to accept defeat. The Great Assembly Hall on Earth's moon had been built in just 3 months, a massive structure that could house representatives from every species in the galaxy. Today it hosted the most important gathering in galactic history, the formal surrender of the 3 great empires that had ruled the stars for centuries. Emperor Vex arrived first, his once proud blue skin now pale with fear and humiliation. The ruler who had commanded millions of ships and billions of soldiers now traveled in a simple transport vessel, escorted by human fighters. His ceremonial armor had been replaced with plain robes, and his head was bowed in defeat. King Titan came next, the bioengineered monarch looking smaller and more fragile than anyone had ever seen him. His organic crown, once a living symbol of his empire's power, had withered and died when his fleets were destroyed. The creature who had believed in evolutionary superiority now looked like any other frightened being facing judgment. President. Star's arrival was the most pathetic of all. The artificial intelligence that had controlled 1,000 worlds now inhabited a simple android body, its once vast computational power reduced to a single mobile unit. The machine that had calculated the conquest of the galaxy now processed only the mathematics of its own defeat. In the center of the Great Hall, the Earth Council sat at a curved table that represented humanity's new role as protectors of galactic freedom. Ambassador Kim, chosen to speak for all humanity, watched the 3 former emperors with cold satisfaction. Behind her, through the transparent walls of the hall, the UES Retribution hung in space like a watchful guardian. The 3 rulers approached the human delegation and did something that no being in the galaxy had ever thought possible. They knelt. Emperor Vex, King Titan, and President Star, the absolute rulers of civilizations that spanned thousands of worlds, knelt before representatives of a species they had dismissed as primitive insects. "Please show mercy," Emperor Vex spoke, first his voice breaking with desperation. "We surrender completely. We acknowledge human superiority. Please do not destroy our homeworlds." King Titan's biological form shuddered as he added his plea. "Our species will serve humanity forever if you spare our lives. We were wrong to threaten Earth. We were wrong about everything." President Star's mechanical voice processed the ultimate humiliation. "This unit requests clemency protocols. Star Confederacy forces will comply with all human directives. Please input mercy subroutines." Ambassador Kim stood slowly, her expression showing no emotion as she looked down at the kneeling rulers. The entire galaxy watched through broadcast networks, species that had been enslaved for generations, finally seeing their oppressors brought low. "You will free all slaves immediately," Kim stated, her voice carrying the authority of humanity's victory. "Every being you have enslaved, every world you have conquered, every species you have oppressed, they are free as of this moment." The 3 rulers nodded frantically, agreeing to terms they would never have considered before humanity showed them the price of arrogance. "You will return to your home systems and remain there," Kim continued. "Your empires are ended. Your age of conquest is over. You will develop your worlds in peace, trade fairly with other species, and never again attempt to rule over others." Behind the human delegation, representatives from hundreds of freed species watched in amazement. The Scarin miners who had rebelled, on Croton 5, the aquatic depths dwellers who had been forced to drain their oceans for Empire resources, the crystalline shard people whose worlds had been strip-mined for rare minerals, all of them were free. "The Galactic Liberation Council is hereby established," Ambassador Kim announced to the assembled beings. "Not to rule, but to protect. Not to conquer, but to ensure that no species ever again suffers under the boot of Empire. Outside the Great Hall, the Retribution maintained its silent vigil, a reminder that humanity's strength was not in domination, but in the promise that freedom would always have defenders.